Hello everyone, this is Tiasha and I welcome you to one more informative session. In today's session, we are going to learn about Python. Now, today's session is going to be interesting as well as important because today's session is not only going to help you educationally, but it will also help you when you go out to seek a job or when you're already into a job. Because today we are going to learn about the basics of Python, and trust me, basics are always worth learning. Now, before going into the actual topic of today, that is Python as a programming language, I want to give you a brief introduction about what is a program and what is a programming language. Now, a program is basically a set of instructions that is given to the computer to perform a particular task or so that the computer gives us a desired output. Now, if you have never heard this term before, I'll make it simple for you. For example, think your mother has asked you to prepare a cup of coffee. Now, this is the first time you don't know how to prepare a cup of coffee. And worst scenario, you don't even know what are the ingredients used in it. So, what your mother will do first in order to get a cup of coffee from you? First of all, she'll tell you the ingredients that is used to make a cup of coffee. And secondly, she will tell you how to use those ingredients in order to get that cup of coffee that is her desired output. It is the same thing with the computer. We ask the computer to do certain tasks for us. Now, the computer doesn't have any idea how to do it. So basically, we provide the computer with some ingredients in the form of inputs. Now we write some instructions because your mother can say you the instruction. The same cannot happen with computer. We have to write down the instructions, right? So we write down the instructions telling the computer how to use those input in order to get our desired output. Now, those written set of instructions that we write, they are nothing but a program. Okay. A programming language, it is basically the language in which the program is written. So it's very obvious. Now, there are many examples of programming language like C, C++, Java, Python, JavaScript, etc. But in this session, we are just going to focus on Python. Now, as I said, there are many other programming languages than Python. Then why do we prefer Python? Do Python provide us with something that other programming language doesn't? Yes. First of all, it is user-friendly. Now, what is exactly meant by user-friendly? For example, if you're writing a program right now and like you have just completed writing it, after 5 minutes, I come to you and ask you, what's the program about? It will be very simple for you to say to me. But if the same program I show you after 5 years and ask you, will you remember the program? No. So what can you do max to max? You can look at the program and tell me in a fraction of seconds what the program is about. Now, this to happen, the program should be readable and understandable. So basically, when you write a program in Python, it is very easy to read and very easy to understand. Okay, so it is user friendly. Next is simple syntax. Syntax basically means grammar of programming language. Simple syntax simply means you have to follow less number of rules in order to write a programming language or a program in that programming language. Okay. Best choice for beginners. Now, Python is best choice for beginners because first of all, it is user friendly. And second thing, for example, if you're new to the programming language and you want to learn C++, it is always recommended that you go for C first, then go to C++. But for Python, we don't have such requirements, okay? If you are new to the programming world and you want to learn Python, you can just get started. Nothing is required before learning Python. No other programming language is required before learning Python. Okay. Now, whenever you start learning a programming language, the first thing you learn in that language is Hello World program. And what is meant by Hello World program? That your computer will print two words, hello and world. And secondly, words and sentences in any programming language are termed as strings. So whenever I say strings after this, you just think I'm talking about words and sentences. Okay. So basically, this is Hello World program in C language, and this is Hello World program in Python. Now, if you don't have any prior knowledge to programming, I don't exactly expect you to understand each and everything. But what I mean to say is to just print two words, hello and world. In C language, we have to these 5 lines of codes. And trust me, you cannot leave anything. Even if you miss the semicolon, you're going to get an syntax error. Okay. And the same program in Python, you can write it in one line, either this or this. Now, whenever you use a string in any programming language, whether it's in input, output, anywhere, you have to write it under double quotes. It's an mandatory. But Python has an exception that instead of double quotes, you can also write strings inside single quotes. So I have written it in both the format for you to understand. You can write any of this and you'll still get the same output, hello world. So in C language, we had to write 5 lines of program, and in Python, just 1 line is enough. So I hope you get it. Why is it user friendly? Why is it had simple syntax and all the advantages? Okay. Yeah. Now let's go to a bit throwback. Okay, so when was Python created? Python was created in 1989 by Guido van Rossum. Okay, so basically he created it as his hobby project, and he wanted to create something which was user friendly, easy to read and understand, and had less complexity. Okay, but when Python was first created, it was not as popular as it is now. Moreover, it was not at all popular. Why? The reason was that Python was comparatively slow than other programming languages like C++. Yeah. So it makes sense, right? When you have a car with good mileage, why you shift to something which has a less mileage? So the programmers said we always already had a programming language which is fast. Why should we shift to Python? That made sense. Now you can ask me, why is Python popular now then? So I think every one of you has heard the terms machine learning and artificial intelligence. Yes. So when machine learning and artificial intelligence came into the scenario, they needed a programming language that was efficient, and Python was the best suit for it. The programmers said we can compromise with speed, but we cannot compromise with efficiency. Python, though it was slow, but it was efficient. Now, why they couldn't compromise with efficiency? Because if a programming language was not efficient, just assume they have written half of the program and then it collapsed. Then again, they have to start from the beginning, which will cost them more. So they said, no, speed we can compromise, efficiency we cannot. So this was the time when Python first started getting popular. Okay. Okay. Next, features of Python. So let us take a look of features of Python. Now, high level. What does high level mean? Let's go back to our first example of coffee making. Now, this time your mother again asked you to make coffee, and this time you know how to make it because she taught you the last time. Okay. Yeah. So basically, but this time you're not getting the coffee bean. So you are just shouting over your house, where are the coffee beans, where are the coffee powder, or anything. Okay. So your mother came and handed you over the coffee powder. And your grandmother, on the other hand, is saying your father got the coffee beans or coffee powder from so and so shop, and then he handed over that to me. Then I kept it in the wardrobe. Now tell me, whose answer was more preferred by you, or whose action was more preferred by you? Obviously, it's your mother's, right? Because she gave access to you, which she gave direct access to you to the thing you wanted. And moreover, the backstory given by your grandmother was not at all important or needed. Okay. So that is the thing. In high level language, whenever we want a data, we get directly access to it without knowing its backstory, like where it is stored, when it came to the play, and how is it stored. Okay. So yeah, and it saves a lot of time. Now, simple. We saw with the comparison of C language why Python is simple. Open source, yeah, it is freely available on the internet. You can download and start coding. GUI programming. GUI stands for graphical user interface. And with the help of GUI programming, you can actually, it is useful to develop web development kind of stuff. So yeah, large standard library. Okay, the our library contains book, but the library of a programming language contains function. So larger the library, more function it will have, and more easily a programming language will be able to perform different kind of tasks. Okay. Expressive language. Expressive language, Python is called an expressive language because it is very much similar to English. Object oriented, you can code real life problems, like you can take real life problems and code them into program. Okay, that's what object oriented means. Interpreter. Now this is again a good topic. Like we have two things, okay, compiler and interpreter. Now both of the work is to check whether a program is error free or not. Now what does a compiler do? It will check your program, all the program, the whole program at once, and at last it will say you there is an error at line number 4 if there is. Okay, now what does an interpreter do? Interpreter will check line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. Oh, I got an error. It will immediately inform you that there is an error at line number 4. And until or unless you rectify the error, the interpreter will not go to the further lines. Once you rectify the error, it will again check line number 4, and then it will go to line number 5, 6, and again it will interpret your program. So this is actually a vast topic. So if after the session, if you have time, please go and check about compilers and interpreters, how they're different, how they're similar, which programming language use what, and why. So I assure you it's a very interesting topic as well. Now, as I said, how efficient Python is, and secondly, we saw the features of Python. Now, there should be many companies that will be using Python because of its advantages. Yes, there are. So Google used Python for the search features, and NASA used Python to reduce the complexity. Then Facebook use for multiple services in infrastructure management. Netflix use Python with machine language. Now, when you are surfing something on Netflix and you watch a series or movies, then when you come back to the interface, sometimes you might have seen that thing that we are recommending you the below movies because you watch so and so movies. So how do they know? They basically prepare a statistics with the help of machine language, where again Python plays a role. So in your day-to-day life, Python is playing a role. You're just unaware of it. Okay. Okay. And many other companies are also using Python. Some of the companies are like with which are involved with data science or with web development. And even for game development, Java was a best choice earlier, but now Python is also becoming one of the popular choice. So you can say day by day, Python is becoming more and more popular. Okay. Now, yes, there comes the interesting part. So we just thought saw the theory part of Python till now, but Python is a programming language. We cannot exactly limit ourselves to theory and all. So let's code two of the programs. There's a very simple programs: addition of two numbers and concatenation of two strings. So let's code it. Okay, before coding, the interface I'm going to use for coding is Python IDE, which is freely available on the internet. All you have to do is just type download Python IDE and go to the first website, click on it, and yes. So for Windows, it is already available. And if you want, if you have some different OS, you can go for it. There are links like Linux, Mac OS. Okay, you can click on the respective link and you will get your link to download Python. Okay, it's freely available on the internet and it's very useful for the beginners. Now, okay, let me increase the font size. Okay, so our first program was addition of two numbers. Okay, so addition of two numbers. Now, for example, if I want to print the value of 10 plus 20, what I can do is I simply write print 10 plus 20, sorry, 10 plus 20, and I'll get 30. But it doesn't make much sense, right? So as we use variable in mathematics, we can use variable in programming language as well. Okay, so let me take a variable A and assign it integer value 10. Then let me take a variable B and assign it integer value 20. Now, one more thing I can do is I take a third variable C and assign it the value A plus B. Okay. Now, if I want to print 30, there are several ways. One I can do is like print A plus B. That also doesn't make much sense because you already took C. So what we can directly do is print C. Okay. Now, one more thing I just want to ask you. If I do something like this, will I get 30 or will I get an error? I will get 30. Now, why? Because A is an storing data which is of integer type, that is A is storing 10 and 20 is also an integer. Okay, so basically we can add to integer if one is in the variable form and one is at the integer form, like we do in maths, like x plus 10. Okay, if x has a value of 10 and we add 10 to it, we'll get 20. Same thing here in programming also. Okay, now our next program was concatenation of two strings. Now, strings, as you remember, I said they're nothing but characters, sorry, words and sentences. Okay, words and sentences are known as strings. And concatenation basically means joining of two strings. Like if there are two strings, hello and everyone, it will join and become hello everyone. Okay, so yeah, so we'll take A equal to hello. Oops, I got an error. Now, can you tell me why did I got an error? It's because hello is a string and I didn't write it under single quotes or double quotes. So let me write it inside single quotes and let's see if you're still getting the error or not. No, we are not. Okay. Now, I'm actually intentionally keeping a space between my quote and E because we don't want hello and everyone to become this clumsy. We want it to be two separate words only in the output. So if you want space in your output, you have to explicitly print it. Python is not going to understand that hello and everyone are two different words, and it is not going to give you a space by itself. You have to explicitly uh, print your space. Okay, so are we getting hello everyone? Let's see. Print A plus B. Yes, we are getting hello everyone. So I hope this was clear to you. You can always do this C equal to A plus B and then print C. These are also available. Okay, so if this is okay to you and if this is like you understood it very well, then let me ask you a few questions, right? So going back. Now, code 1, what will be the output of code 1? If you are saying it will be 600, then you need to rewatch my video because I said strings are always inside double quotes or single quotes, and the same applied vice versa. Anything that is inside double quotes or single quote is considered as strings. And strings cannot be added, they can be concatenated or joined. So basically, the output will be 400200. Okay, the output will be 400200. Okay, next code is A equal to 10 and B equal to hello. Now tell me what is print A plus B. Many of you may say that it's going to be 10 hello or something, but no, it's not the correct thing because um, 10 is an integer and hello is a string. So we cannot basically add an integer and a string. We can add an integer and a float. Float is nothing but decimal numbers, but we cannot add an integer and a string. Like it's obvious, right? How can you add a number and a word or sentence? It doesn't make sense. It will not get joined, it will not get added. What it will be? So yeah, so this code, second code is basically going to give you an error. So that's all from my side. If you have any queries, you can always ask me. Okay. So yeah, and thank you. That's all from my side. You have been a great audience. Thank you so much.